All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to, I guess what is Saturday time for the Let's Get Growing show here, but not really a Let's Get Growing show. I mean, as we've kind of been experiencing over the last couple of weeks here on our showtime here as well too, and I'm going to talk a lot about that here coming up. It's just going to be kind of one of those days, one of those shows, one of those hangouts. So hopefully you'll all come along with me today and hang out here and join in with me on the conversation as well too. Definitely drop into our chat and all of that. I guess we could run through this real quick here just to do it anyways, even though we're not really a Let's Get Growing show, if you will. But let's go ahead at the top of this show anyways. Click the like button. Hit that thumbs up. And also subscribe. Hit the bell notification to be notified of all of our upcoming real shows when we get some real guests around here and get this back up and running as it's supposed to be. Right. So make sure you hit that bell notification. You'll be notified when we get some of those started up here, hopefully real soon. And share with all of your garden friends out there and let them know about us being here every Saturday. We try every Saturday and Sunday, 11 a.m. Pacific time, 2 p.m. Eastern. And for those of you also who haven't maybe caught up or heard about our hiatus with our Monday evening show, The Green Room, we're going to be holding off on that also for just a short period of time here as I rework some things and think some things out about that and get that back up and running and going, because oh man, it was so fun. It was so awesome to be able to hang out with everybody in that different time slot on a weekday evening, and to be able to have some really amazing, awesome chats with some great guests, gardeners who've been on our Saturday show. Lots of them were folks who are on our "Are You Following Me" segment that we do, and that was one of the main reasons for doing that Green Room show, was to make sure we had a place or a time that we could bring those folks back with us to have a continuing conversation with them about the things that they've got growing on with their gardens and all of that. So really am hoping to get all of that back together and back on our Monday evenings and back rolling here down the road here shortly. We'll see how long it takes to get some of these things figured out. We got some ideas and some things going on about how we can rework and do some things with the show, but I want to keep it as much like it was as possible, so that I just really enjoyed it. It was such a great time. So keep an eye out for that as well too. But we'll definitely try to be here and continue to be here on Saturdays and Sundays, 11 a.m. Pacific, 2 p.m. Eastern. Also, big huge shout out to all of you who are watching our replay watchers. I probably won't be very many. I probably won't have this show up for very long. So if you do get a chance to catch this on replay, definitely drop it into the comments. Let me know that you made it for a replay before I actually take it off of the thing. We'll talk a little bit reasons why, all that sort of stuff. Unofficial show as we will, for today. But thank you anyways, everybody, for coming in and hanging out and being a part of the Let's Get Growing show. You guys really make this such an awesome experience. Again, whether you're joining with us live or you're here, just really thanks a lot for being here, for watching, for participating with all of this here, so again, I just really appreciate it. Definitely as well too, I will get in with all of you. We'll work through our conversation here today in the comments as well, coming up here in just a few minutes as well too. But definitely jump in, whether you're here with us live right now, or if you've caught this replay by chance. Definitely drop in. Let me know you're here. Let me know what you got growing on, all of that sort of stuff as well too. I definitely would love to hear from people who are new and hopefully if you're new, you stick around and stick with us here too, and come and check out some of our really awesome regular shows that we put on around here, because we do have a really great time with all of the amazing guests and people that we get to have here with us for the gardening conversation each weekend and all of that too. So if you're new, definitely stick with us here. I apologize for these last few weeks and this week, and what we'll see maybe next week and what's going on and all of that. But things are turning around. We'll have some really great shows lining up for us with some really great, amazing guests, and everything back up and normal here coming up real soon. Real soon. But yeah, definitely drop in and join the conversation if you are here with me live today. I definitely love to hear from all of you. And the same thing, do drop in your questions or comments. Let me know where you're growing from. Let me know what you've got growing on, all of that. I'd love to hear and see where people are joining us from and all of that. So, and hearing from you about what you have growing on in your gardens. So definitely drop into the chat and let me know about all of that as well too. Like I said, I'm going to get in there and check out some things coming up here, as well as go on about some things that are on my mind and I'm thinking about right now and all of that as well too. Um, I will say though, we do got links down below for contributors and all of that, other social media and everything too, if you are new or haven't had a chance to go through and check some of those out. And I definitely encourage everybody to go and check out our contributors, go follow along with what they got going on and growing on in their gardens and on their channels. We have a lot of amazing people who contribute and do some really awesome stuff for us here on the show. And I definitely want to make sure, especially during this time, as I'm trying to figure some things out, that I really acknowledge you folks who do dedicate your time to contributing to this show. You are amazing. I really appreciate everything that you do. You make this show you make this show as good as it is. That's for sure. And I really appreciate what you do. So thank you so much. So everybody else, go follow those links. Go let them know you've seen them here on the Let's Get Growing show and all of that. And yeah. And like I said, it's just one of those days. I was just talking with Jay before the show. She's backstage there and joining with us as well too. And let's go ahead and say this here too. We got Jay. We talk about contributors and people who do and dedicate their time and put time into helping us out. Our J-Bot in the chat with us each and every weekend, facilitating our chat, helping us out, backstage and doing all sorts of different great stuff for us here on the show. Definitely a major contributor. I'd like to thank her for sure for all of what she does there. Join us from Midwestern Ontario, Canada, in the lee of Lake Huron. And as I was saying, I was chatting with her before the show, and it was just kind of like one of those ones is it happens every now and then. It's just there's, something's going on, whether it's really an issue that comes up last minute, the guest or some sort of things, and then it gets to be close to showtime, and I'm just like, I don't feel like it. It's just that I'm not it. I can't or don't feel like I can pull off what it would take to produce a really fun gardening show for everybody on our on our weekends here, that we get to hang out and gather together and all of that. And so that's why I really apologize again to again for this show and and not having things set up the way they should be, because that's what we put out there each and every week, and folks I'm sure really expect that when it comes down to it, and I like to live up to that for sure. And like I said, we'll get things back up. But I was like, I don't know if I could really pull off and I was walking around thinking about a lot of different things as things are going on and all of that, and kind of just trying to make and decide. I'm sure a lot of people who really, and if you really follow along with the show, might have noticed there hasn't been a link or a show link or a thumbnail or anything up for until maybe about an hour or so ago. I was really kind of up to that minute. I was thinking about whether or not I was going to come on here and hang out and talk about things and do all this sort of stuff. And and as I was talking to Jay before the show, I was like, I don't know what today's going to be like. It's my mind's in a lot of different directions, going in a lot of different places. But at the same time, I want to be up. I want to be here, and I kind of want to talk about certain things and all of that. And I was just, in the long run, thought maybe it'd be just kind of cathartic to get and hang out with my garden friends and my folks and talk it out a little bit and just kind of see how things go. Maybe I'll feel a little bit better about some things. Maybe I'll think a little bit more about some things, that sort of stuff. But it's kind of the way it was. It's wandering around, looking at all the different garden spaces, thinking about some different things and different times and stuff like that. I've difficult times I've gone through. I've lived here in this space, these alleyway spaces, these gardens. Now I've been growing now for around 15 years now. I mean, we're going on 14, but going on 15 years. We're on our 15th year. Let's just say that. But it's a lot of things. And early on, there were some really difficult times that I had to go through. And gardening was really one of those things that I turned to, and really it got me through a lot of really difficult times. I was thinking about that, as I was wandering through and thinking about all the different gardens we've grown over all the different seasons here now, and the different difficult times that there were, a couple of them, lots of great fun, awesome seasons, lots of really great growing and experimenting and getting to do lots of things, learn lots of things about gardening and growing, especially those early years, but there were a couple of seasons in there over these last 14, 15 years that I've grown here that I've gone through some really, really difficult things. And gardening helped get me through those. I've shared with everybody about some stories, about how gardening has really got me through some things. There's a couple of videos online, a couple of things, 2013 and 14 both were difficult for a couple of different reasons. 14 kind of a continuation of things in 13, but a whole nother thing. But those were it was the garden I turned to those early years, and this was years before I even started my channel and everything. And right now is kind of a difficult time, and that's one of those things about talking about being honest and doing certain things and having maybe a cathartic talk out about this, is that I'm out there right now and have been and doing a lot of stuff that I've kind of shared and a little bit here and there. I let some things go a bit more than I should have in the garden throughout the winter time. So I've been out there a lot, just kind of working and doing things, just getting my hands in the soil, working these garden spaces, trying to get things back up to what I'd like them to be. But at the same time, really, I think a lot of that is what I was thinking about though too earlier, is that, is a lot of that energy I'm doing. I'm not, and I'm thinking about, I should have really taken some pictures of this, or I really should have shot some video of that, as I'm reflecting on some things that are finished and done, but at the same time, I'm also like, it was actually kind of nice to kind of shut a lot of things down and just kind of do the work. Right. Because that's kind of what I would have done back when I was going through some of these other really difficult things, is, just kind of turn to the garden, turn to my garden spaces, my garden projects, and just really got into the work and just really did this, to absorb, that, and to work through some of these sort of things that was really, really tough. In each one of these situations, each one of these seasons that I had to go through with, these difficult things, I feel I'm so lucky and fortunate that that I've found gardening that can help me work through and get through that sort of stuff. Not only found gardening, but then found YouTube, and found sharing my gardens and doing this show and all these sort of things that have come along all the way. And I brought one of these in here too, because this is also making me think of a lot as well too. And a lot of people who watch and have heard my story before will know and understand a little bit too, because it really all started with this. And it really, and that's something that, helps me reflect and think about a lot of stuff as well too. Is a friend came over with one of these, just one little cucumber start, years ago, and changed a lot of stuff for me in a way, and it would have been just anything normal in any other way had I gone on and done whatever else and grown the cucumber and didn't think about it or blah blah blah, all that sort of stuff. But really, it started a whole thing for me. A couple of balcony gardens that I had when I still lived up in the Seattle, Washington area, and then taking those those early gardens on my balcony and those early kind of successes in container gardening and doing that sort of stuff that I got to do then, and it was really not very much. I mean, it was really kind of almost passive in the sense of being an activity in my life. I was doing a lot of other stuff. I wasn't really thinking too much about it until I moved down here in 2012, 11 to 12. Yeah. And, so I moved down here and then I had this extra space and I was trying to figure out what I'm going to do with this extra space. But I also brought some of this, I want to grow some tomatoes in the little strip that I have in the back patio area. And so, just have a little space for a garden, but I wanted to do all this other stuff or think about what I was going to do with all this other stuff. And then 2013, the year 2013. And this is something I don't talk about too much a lot because it was such a difficult time. But because I started that little garden in the back and had a few containers and stuff like that I was doing kind of still kind of passively as a kind of a hobby, for fun kind of thing that I was doing, had that sort of space. It was in the beginning of 2013. My daughter's mother contacted me to let me know that she was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. And she didn't share openly with everybody, and I know she didn't do that more so for our kids and that sort of thing, but she didn't share openly her prognosis, how long did she have, right? But and not even with me really, she that sort of thing. It was wanting to keep this upward confidence, of course, and everything, but she said stage 4 and I knew, and it wasn't going to be very long. And she was so young, and but I turned to this space, these gardens, these tomatoes, these peppers, these containers and these things, because I didn't know how to face the rest of the world. You know what I mean? It was so difficult. And my gardening exploded though, because I really focused a lot of attention onto these plants. There were some, especially the ones in the house and all of that. But this information was coming to me as spring was coming, as we were getting into the new year, all this sort of stuff. So, I kind of had some ideas I was carrying over the winter time. This was, I would consider probably my first real kind of like winter where I'd gotten some seeds and I was really kind of thinking about like what I was going to do to kind of expand out and grow some extra little things and stuff like that too. So, this was kind of my first, like, I'm looking forward to this next growing season and what we can do. Like I said, everything was kind of passive up to that point, and I was kind of like gearing up to like, okay, we're going to do more and more because we got more and more, a little more space, right? Not much more space, but we got a little more space. But then this news and this information comes along, and I just kind of closed in and really went to work on all of those ideas and thoughts because I could do them myself. And just luckily for me, I'd moved here to this new city, this new place here in Oregon where really I didn't know too many people. Just didn't know too many people. So it was easy for me to kind of close off a little bit, you know, and to focus and put a lot of energy into that. I made a video about 2014. Yes, well, I mean, going through 13. She passed away that summer, and again, really difficult time. But I worked through and built up some of this stuff, and again went into that next winter thinking, and oh man, what I can do now, and what I can do next. I was really in checking out a lot of these videos and watching some of these other gardeners do all this other really kind of cool stuff, which was giving me ideas to do some of these other things. As the water wicking earth buckets were starting to come into play. I was building some of the first little elevated raised beds for the back patio, expanding out and trying and experimenting with all sorts of things. And I was just really, because I was really utilizing that almost as therapy, right, to get through a lot of this sort of stuff. I really, expanded and was like, oh, 2014 is gonna be amazing. We're gonna go do this. And not only that, I'd met some people going into 2014 that I got into a community garden locally, and started, okay, well, I didn't see the space for what I could use too much here until I kind of got over there, and was also again digging into more videos, more content in gardening, and seeing what a lot of other people were doing with some stuff, and learning about guerrilla gardening, urban space capture, capturing space for communities, gardens, and other things that people have done. I read a book, Farm City by Novella Carpenter, like really kind of inspiring, all these other real kind of crazy ideas. They're all happening, kind of like in a massive rolling snowball through these years, but at the same time, they were some of the most difficult years for me. Right. And that snowball effect of everything happening was because I was really kind of focusing my attention into these gardens to deal with some of the stuff that was going on in my life, and losing my daughter's mom in 2013 was just the point of explosion for a lot of things for me, because and really the big thing too, and it wasn't until I would say 2015 and 16 where I was really having some good years. You know what I mean? And things were really going great. A lot of attention was kind of coming to the spaces and the things I was doing in those years. But in 13 and 14, having to go through some of the things I went through. In 14, I did a video on this. There's a video, and I'm sure I don't know, Jay would probably find it. I don't know. It's back there somewhere. It's probably somewhere in the more popular videos section or something. But it's a video where talking about the 2014 season at the community garden, when one evening I was there, a couple of guys came through this community space and whatever, and what would you say on the street? You would say I got jumped, and I was attacked by a couple of guys and beaten up as well too by it. So it was just a difficult experience. Just a couple of dudes who thought they were cool and bad and gang members and whatever, that sort of thing. And it became a whole big issue. It became a whole story. The gardener who was attacked at the community garden, it was local news, and became a whole legal issue in the long run when it came to dealing with the guys who did it and all that sort of stuff. There was just whole problems with the judges. I think I tell the story pretty well in the video. If you ever want to check it out and learn about that story at all or something, so I don't get too much into it. But anyways, these 2 years of just some really difficult things going on for me personally, but the gardens were my escape. It was where I went to. It was all of that. I didn't stop working at the community garden either. I still spent a couple more years there, those next couple of really great years that I had. In fact, leading up into my first, I spent the next few years, doing things there, and then again, we started the channel and all of that as well too in 2017, I think it was. So yeah, but led up to some really great stuff and some cool things. And then again, there was the 2020. I've done a video and talked about that too, where I had to make some difficult decisions, life decisions for myself, and that I had to do, which was really great when it comes to drinking and alcohol and all of that sort of stuff. So that was probably, you know barring going through that, these really major difficult times, I'd probably say the second most difficult thing I've ever went through in my life was 2020. And leading into some other really great years and into doing and putting the show together and all that sort of stuff. And it's the point of sharing and doing that sort of stuff is that's kind of, I was thinking about all these years that we were growing in all the different gardens and how it expanded and how it grew, and a lot of it came down to why. And the why was similar to kind of what I've been going through these last few weeks, and really kind of focusing my attention. And, a lot of the spaces are looking really nice out there. And I've been putting a lot of really great work. We've been getting some stuff planted. I've got a lot of good starts going. We've got some things that are getting direct seeded, all sorts of really great stuff happening out there. But I'm just kind of focused in on it and just kind of thinking, more so that I'm really using my garden to kind of get through what is a difficult time right now. And something, again, I don't try to share too much of the personal things going on in my life when it comes down to a lot of this show, especially, or at least, when the show's the show, you know what I mean? That's why this is kind of unofficial, and I'm just kind of here to talk about things because this is what I'm going through. It also affects the show as well too, because a lot of the things I'm going through personally and the time that I'm spending doing things and not, making videos like I used to, that's something I've been thinking a lot about. Things that are, the energy and the time that it takes to be putting into to contact all the folks that I need to in order to line up all the shows and get the guests booked and to do the show prep work that needs to be done each week to set up for our shows and that sort of stuff, and not having the mindset to put in the time, let alone the actual having the time to do it. You know what I mean? And I've shared with this before too, is that a lot of the time though, is that for me, it's I just love doing the show so much. To me, doing and putting in the work that it takes to do it and to put it together doesn't bother me much. Ultimately to do it, because it's so much fun to get together and hang out with all of you guys and to talk with I mean, look at the amazing people we get to have here that, come on to this little show here and hang out with us and talk about all these just really cool gardening stories and garden projects, and, and there are different organizations folks are part of, and different, channels and just, authors we've got to talk to. Our book club is amazing, having Gardner Scott on here with us, all of that sort of stuff. It's just, it's so much fun. There's just so much to enjoy about doing this. And then, even when it comes to doing what was really, I think, one of the coolest things that we've found to do over the last couple of years of doing this show is our community shows. You know what I mean? Because I'm an old school, I used to love listening and hanging out and just listening to the radio shows and like old AM radio shows and a lot of the call-in radio and all of that sort of stuff, that I would work jobs listening to the radio in the background, a lot of that sort of stuff. And for me, just having that sense of like, oh, it's kind of like that call-in radio thing, we get to share the show with our audience, they get to come on with us and to hang out with us and to be a part of all of this, just really kind of expands that whole cool thing that we're doing within this space, so I just really, I look at a lot of that. I hope for the most part too, as you know, I was saying earlier, is that there's this moment where I was like wondering whether or not I was going to actually do a show or not today, or to get on here and to hang out with you guys today, because this isn't the type of stuff I want to do and spend in this time slot doing. You know what I mean? This isn't the type of, we want to do shows. We want to have these cool gardeners, the all Are You Following Me guest, we want to figure out what Brandy's trivia question is, you know what I mean? We want to, have that featured guest conversation, that coming up, later on, and all of that sort of stuff, the things that we really look forward to and all that sort of thing. But it goes to say you can't really do an every single weekend throughout the, like, well, not necessarily every single weekend. I got it. Not quite every single weekend, but we try to be here most weekends, to do the show and all that sort of stuff. So there's going to be certain things that come up or happen throughout the year to where we got to work and weigh on how we're going to deal with them, or take care of them in certain ways. And you know, and we do, and we have, we've gone through little periods of time of different things that we've had to kind of go through throughout the last couple of years on the show. So, we've had our little bumps and little things like that that have come along. But this is the first time I've kind of had this kind of where certain thoughts and certain wonder, I'm really wondering, what am I doing? Am I, there's literally been the thoughts of like, is it worth the time to spend doing a lot of this stuff? Is it, am I, because again, when I'm sitting there in the garden, I'm just getting to spend the time doing that. It's so cathartic. It's so therapeutic. It's so just, it's a great time when I'm not worried about whether I'm capturing the video or pictures, or if I'm focusing in on the intention that I need to for the show, to do the things that I need to for the live streams on the weekends, on all this sort of stuff. And so, there's points in those times where I'm thinking like, oh man, I really need to be doing this if I want to accomplish this to get the show going, or that sort of stuff. But then there's also the kind of like, but man, isn't it really nice just to just spend the time doing this? You know what I mean? And so there's the kind of that juggling of those sort of different thoughts, that have been kind of going on over this last week or so, and just kind of you know plus some other things, right? I've got some issues going on. I'm trying to figure out, I'm working through. I got a new job. I got new things that are taking up other large chunks of my time, that don't have anything to do with a lot of this sort of stuff, to get through some things. This last year just wasn't a very good year for me personally, let's just say, on a financial level. You know what I mean? On a financial level, I was hit with some expenses that I wasn't expecting, and I'm working through and trying to get through a lot of that sort of stuff, and I'm doing it. It's just a lot of work. It's a lot of time. It's a lot of effort. So there's a lot of energy that's really going out right now, right? And so that's kind of in being honest, and why things are, and why I don't have or our shows we expect, and that sort of thing, is that I'm just working through some things as far as that goes personally and all of that. But I'm also kind of reflecting on the time that I'm spending doing a lot of stuff that's taking up a lot of my time, right? And then also the stress of wanting to put together a really great show, because I do want to do that. This is really important to me. It is. I mean, a lot, and it is kind of that longer running narrative and story of my garden story overall, starting from that cucumber start. You know what I mean? And being here today, getting to do this just really amazing show that we've created and developed and put together and everything as well too. So in the long run, I want to accomplish it all. I want to defeat all of my challenges. It's just, in order to do some of that sort of stuff, I've got to kind of step back, take a look, reflect on some things, and make a game plan to be able to accomplish those sort of things, and to be able to do that. Because, like I said, hopefully, for the most part, there's some shows we've had, and I've talked with Jay about them. Jay, and we've talked about those as even before the shows, we'll have a little discussion before, and I'll be like, I don't know, but and talk about it after the show, and she'd be like, well, you never tell, you could never, that's kind of that's kind of the goal, is that I could come here and use this space to have fun and to really enjoy this time with all of you, talking about the things that we really enjoy the most in our gardens and our garden spaces, and to learn from all these amazing people that we get to have on here, and to get to kind of get as much of all of that great knowledge we can from all of these people, and also get to absorb some of these just really amazing garden stories and things that we get to learn from all these different people and personalities who are out in this larger gardening community out there, that has just been so amazing to me from day one. That's, I've shared before, that's why I want to do this show so much, is because it really is, in a way, when I think of like even some of the effort that I put into doing it, and why it's so kind of like worth it and rewarding in the long run, even though there isn't really any financial you think like to spend so much time or to do that sort of stuff that you really want to, and there's ways I could do that, I could figure that out, and believe me, I've thought about it, and I worry and wonder about some of those strategies and things that I need to be implementing and thinking about and all that sort of stuff. But ultimately, it really, like I said, it comes down to the fact that I just really enjoy be able to put together this show and put it together in a way that's creative and fun and enjoyable for everybody who gets to watch it. And to do that in some sort of way, like if it's considered any sort of like art in some way, right? Like a painting I'm putting together each week, to sit back and go, okay, that was a good show. That was a really great discussion with those guests. The audience was really, really involved with this one and really, really enjoying it, and be able to reflect on some of those things afterwards and to get those feelings from that is just so really awesome. To know that I've accomplished putting together and managing and producing what would be a really great show in the long run. So there's a lot that comes from that I love, ultimately, and look at some of the, what I don't get, I guess, in some sense, is that kind of payback, in a sense, to the community ultimately, because that's been so nice and cool and generous to me. Especially, at first, when I was first thinking about, sharing and creating a YouTube channel and doing that sort of stuff with the things that I was growing and creating around my garden spaces and things, was that, that these people were just so amazing to me. Everybody I would call and contact, and so inviting. I get to go to these really cool people's gardens. I get to meet some of these really amazing garden creators, and like when I got to go to John Kohler's garden for the first time, how amazing and awesome that was. But not only that, just how really cool and amazing he was as a person, just so genuine to the person that I knew from YouTube and everything. It's just one of those things that really, really solidified how much I really enjoy and love YouTube, for the genuine, awesome, amazing people who are that YouTube allows and platforms and lets share their experiences and their gardens and those sort of things. I mean, for me, it doesn't matter. You could be into knitting or train collecting, or think about any sort of hobby or other types of communities out there. There's just, it allows for just real people to get on here and to be themselves and to share their talents and their experiences and those sort of things, right? And that's kind of what all of this was. And ultimately, as I thought about and created this show, was kind of like a way to kind of highlight and be kind of a show that is for and by the gardening community in a way, right? And we've accomplished so much of that over these last couple of years in such a way that, I just couldn't imagine or doing anything more fun than this, really, when it comes down to it. For me in my life personally, maybe some other people would enjoy other things, as I was mentioning, in other communities for other stuff. But when it comes to it, what I found in gardening was amazing, man. It wasn't just the cucumbers that I got to grow off of that first plant. you know? It was this whole experience that helped me get through a very difficult time in my life, and several different difficult times, as I talked about. I don't know what you know, uh, it's hard to think about really sometimes in reflecting back on those times. It's like, what if I didn't have that cucumber? What if I didn't have this growing little hobby passion thing that was developing at the time that, that this was happening in my life, right? And it was just chasing the paychecks and the job and blah 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 whatever, and not having it. I mean, what would my experience, how would have I gotten through that, right? What a was in later, in my experiences, like I said, in 2020, with drinking and things like that, that could have gotten way worse, right? I mean, I had already had, during that time, I was still going through that issue. And it was, I didn't see it as an issue as much at that time, right? But that could have got really bad. I could have gotten a really deep, 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 dark hole, right? That I look back and to say, man, that garden really, really saved me during that time, because I could have really went somewhere else other than just going and isolating and secluding myself in these garden spaces and garden projects and and I think at that time I was really starting my first pepper plants and really like, oh, these peppers are really interesting. I was watching some of my first pepper videos, I remember, during that time and stuff too as well. So it's that was so huge to have that in my life, right? So not only was I getting these cool food and checking out these cool pepper plants and all this sort of stuff, and growing these cool things that we would for, what is a great reason to grow your own gardens and growing your own food is the food, to grow your own pure, clean food. These were things I got to learn more about, though, too, as I was going through this process, and things that were just huge for me and became bigger things for me. But for me, it was the more therapeutic end at the beginning of things versus getting these other really cool benefits of stuff. But that's like when we have Dr. Jeff on with us, you know what I mean? I like those conversations and getting to think about all these other facets of how gardening is so awesome for us, for our health, and that's not just on the, we can get exercise from a garden. We can get therapy from a garden. We can get good nutrition from a garden. We can get all of these sort of amazing, amazing benefits from a garden. You know what I mean? We can get community from a garden, which is beneficial in all sorts of ways, in some of our last couple of conversations with Dr. Jeff. It's just the garden is just one of these amazing, amazing things that just, you wouldn't think about on all of these different levels when you just think about a garden in general, or you're new to it, or you've never had any experience with it. I could, thinking about like a vegetable garden and just like, okay, yeah, people do that, but I've never had the space for it, or these other reasons that maybe those sort of things never really thought they were that great of an idea or something, right? But then just to kind of have it happen onto you, right? And then kind of develop from there and be there at these times when it's just so important that you have something there to really help you get through some of this stuff. Because what if, the what if you didn't, could be really, really dark, right? That's huge to me. That's huge to me, and that's what this place is, and that's what this time space is. And that's why earlier, as I was like, well, I'm maybe not in the best space for doing a live show and a live stream, at the moment, but maybe it's still a good idea to get on and hang out with people and share with folks and kind of, open yourself up to some of this stuff and do the show anyways, right? And kind of talk yourself through it, if you will, right? Because the garden space has done such an amazing job for me. The gardening community has been so amazing for me, and all of that sort of stuff. So when it comes down to it, you work through and you do some things and get through all that sort of stuff with the people who, are there for you all the time, anyways, right? And that's what you guys are to me, just a special group of people, and all of that to come with me and hang out with me on this fun garden adventure. That's what I've always called it, a garden adventure on the Urban Gardener channel. And again, you can go look at it and check out some of our early videos. I don't know if you really should push people to do that sort of stuff, is it's really kind of cringy for me to go back and look at some of myself in some of those old videos and everything. But let's get growing was our tagline from the very beginning. We used to say that at the beginning of every show, let's get growing, and for our show now, the Let's Get Growing show, and everything that we've been able to do here in the last couple of years has just been so awesome, amazing, and to get to do the things I've gotten to do here with the gardening community is just, if you'd have told me that, the old, if you'd have told me story, right, but if you'd have told me all the way back in the days of the first cucumber plant, that all of this stuff was going to come to be, right, that I was going to, or even those early days of watching some of those first YouTube videos, and to tell myself that you're going to get to meet a lot of these people, and you're going to get to interview and talk to hundreds of just amazing garden creators and communicators and authors, and just people that are sharing their gardening experiences and stories, and knowledge. Of course, everybody really comes for all of this to seek out knowledge and more knowledge about gardening and all of that, right? To have the opportunity I've had, it's just it's pinch me type stuff. Really, it really is. I mean, I've been so lucky and fortunate. Put a lot of work in to be able to do it, mind you. I'll tell you that. I put a lot of work in. I've always tell everybody who gets into and wants to produce or make shows, especially guest shows and booking and doing all that sort of stuff, that you got to be prepared to do some good work when it comes down to it. But it's so, really, to me, in the long run, it's so worth it. And when it comes to what I get from it personally, and this, kind of reflective, kind of look at what you've done, look what you've created, look what you've gotten to do type of perspective, but then also the getting to see what you all think of everything, and get to see your reactions to all of this, and your comments and the different things that you say about all of these things from week to week, and your participation and enjoyment of all of our conversations with our guests and everything like that. So you guys really just make this just really, really amazing, that we're even able to put this out there and produce a show like this, and that people will come along and follow along and participate and be here and enjoy this sort of stuff. It's just absolutely fantastic and amazing. So I've gone on and on and on for quite a little while here. And so I think I need to get in here, and I don't know, I'm going to kind of go back here. I'm going to try to do this as quick as I can, but I'm going to work through this conversation the best I can here. Like I said, we don't got a real official show. There's no real roll call, all that sort of stuff here today. I know Jay did put that in there earlier, but we're going to have one big long roll call, if you will. I'm going to run through here and just kind of say hello to folks, like we did. We said hello to the J bot just a little bit ago. Jay, thank you for everything. Appreciate you being here. And let's see here. We have Janet in there saying hello. Janet, thank you for being here today. We've got Bowtie Life in the garden. How are you doing? Joining us from the Emerald Coast there in Florida. Blueberries are producing faster than we can pick them. That's amazing. That's a lot better story than my blueberry story. I'll share with that down the road sometime here, for sure. Hi, Sonia. Great to have you here. Awesome. Thanks for being here. We got Look to Nature Homestead. What's cracking, gardeners? Again, all these comments coming in earlier. So I'm sorry, everybody. I'm just kind of I'm going to work through a lot of this. Say hello to folks here, And Looked in Nature says, beautiful rain here in southeastern Pennsylvania. Excellent. Thank you so much for dropping in and being here with us today. It's great to have you here. Let's see, we got Nancy here as well. Nancy, great to have you here. And Nancy says, Northeast New Jersey. Awesome. Awesome. Northeast New Jersey. I've been through a little bit parts of New Jersey. Let's see here. John joining with us. Hey, hey, hey. How you doing, John Harrell? Right on, right on. Excellent. I like that. I like that. I've got some cousins who are Harrells. Like, there you go. My friend Adam joining us from Central Point here in Southern Oregon. He says he's listening in today, getting stuff put in the garden. Right on, right on. Yeah, it's a nice day down here. It's been pretty warm though, too. It's been pretty warm. For sure, for sure. Let's see here. John says Eastern North Carolina. Nice. Our daughter is about to pick our first cherry tomato. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I was just out with my granddaughter the other day. We were picking strawberries out of our strawberry plants, and she's like, she's going to be 2 like next month, and just her just loving and just eating them. She couldn't get enough. She wanted more and more of them. She loved those strawberries. Love it. Can't wait for her to get some of the cherry tomatoes and see what she thinks. Her mom loved tomatoes, so hopefully she does too. Good friend Big Will Dog joining us here from Indianapolis. He says it's damp and rainy. Got lots to do, but not while it's raining. Got 3 more days before a dry period swings in. So you got some rain for a little bit, huh? Yeah, I'm not too bad. I mean, again, being from the Pacific Northwest, if it's warm enough, I don't mind the rain. But if it's cold and wet, then it's not happening. But if it's warm enough and it's still wet and rainy, I'll be out there. No problem. No problem. Excellent, excellent. Like Jay says, yeah, absolutely. We value this community and hanging out with garden friends. That's right. Good friend Rob from over in the UK there. Good day, all. It's been a scorcher today, 30 degrees Celsius. Woo-hoo. Nice and warm. What's 30 degrees Celsius? I'm just going to guess maybe 80s. My friend Paul from Guten Gardening. Hello, Paul. Great to have you here. Hope you're doing well too. Thanks for being here with us. Thank you so much. And he says, oh, right. But listening in the back. See, like I said, I like it though. Just put us on. That's why I like the whole kind of like, as I was saying, that radio aspect of kind of live streaming too, is that, you get a good live stream going where we're just talking and conversating and that sort of thing. You just kind of put that on and put it on like a radio show in the background and do all the work or whatever else you got going on and just listen in. That's a great way to do the show for sure. I was like, no need to apologize. Things happen in life and you can't control them. That's right. That's right. But still, as a creator of something, it is kind of something, I put together something that I hope that folks really enjoy. And as much, as they enjoy it, they also, I hope as well too, though, not that it's a negative thing at all, but I hope that they come to expect really good quality conversations and shows and things like that when we're here on the weekends and all of that too. I think that's a great thing. I think people who come in here and expecting a great show and that sort of thing is a great thing for a show to have, so that's why in a way again, I know you guys are really great and I don't really need to apologize to most of all of you and everything. But again, if you're new here, as I mentioned earlier too, if you're checking in and you're new or you're just listening in or something like that, and have been around a couple of times or something, and you're just still kind of feeling the show out, that sort of thing. I hope you kind of hang out through all of this with us, and again, those types of shows that I hope people expect we'll be back to get normal, and we'll get things rolling again too. Because again, I really, really do really love and enjoy putting those shows together. We've got again, I've been loving seeing new names also too that pop in and week out and everything as well too. So Rebecca's Gardening, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for taking your time to come and hang out with us here on the show. Let's see here. Like, Jay says, I have met so many great garden folks, but sometimes outside life really interferes with our garden life. It sure does, you know. And it kind of depends on certain things and what they are. I can work through them and get through them and do them all right. But then again, there are just some of these bigger, tougher things that, again, if it was stuff like I wouldn't have been able to do this stuff had it been 2013 and those things I was going through in those couple of years. 2020 would not have been able to do this for sure. Those were heavy. This stuff is big, it's heavy, it's difficult, but it's also one of those ones where I'm also kind of like, well, I can do this, we can work through this, we can trudge and get it done and do all that sort of stuff. But then you kind of, the ditch kind of gets a little deeper in certain spots type of thing, right? And so I'm kind of working through this right now. And again, we'll get things right back to normal and hopefully just, building a better solid plan that can help us deal with time management and some things that have to be done, barring certain new things that I've got to work through and all that sort of stuff. So it's just going to take a little bit of time, take some things and all of that. But real soon, our regular Saturday and Sunday shows should hopefully be back together good. And then maybe a few more weeks after that, we'll get that Monday show back to normal and really finish this season off awesome. That's what pumping myself up for. Saying here live to the world too, so that I give myself some real tangible goals, right? For sure. Right on. Excellent. And my good friend Rick joining me from the future, joining all of us from the future. It's Sunday morning for Rick, hanging out with us nice and early. Thank you so much for getting up, Rick. It's always great to see you here with us in the chat. Join us all the way from down under in Australia. Rebecca Carter says, I feel like there's always so much to do. Yes, that's so true. That really is. Especially for, again, a good, busy gardener who's got a lot of things going, growing a really great garden with a lot of good stuff, growing a lot of food, a lot of things, busy and busier than we even expect, even though I try to plan for being busier, and then I end up being even busier. That's just the way it works, right? And Eddie, great to see you, Eddie. Thank you so much for being here. Hello. And he says, I was typing hellos to everyone I know. And zapped and ad came in. Oh, zapped and I can't type it again. So hi, everyone. Right? I know that's not. Oh, I hate that about that whole aspect of things for sure. But thanks for dropping on. Thanks for saying hello. Thanks for being with us here, Eddie. It's so great to have you here. Thanks for hanging out with us on the show here. So just kind of a hangout day today. Talking some things out, working some things through, building up for hopefully, some bigger and better things down the road, all that sort of stuff. Becky's Garden says, the heat already feels brutal here in Texas. Oh my, I can imagine. We're starting to get really warm. We've had some, it felt like 90 degrees. It could have been 90 in certain spots around here yesterday. So it was really feeling warm, and we're not through spring yet. And I'm like, we can hold off for summertime, but that's just kind of the way it's worked for us the last few years here. Is just, you start getting used to spring, and then summer just decides to nudge its way in and say, all right, I'm here already. But hopefully we still got some, cooler weather, cooler evenings, and some things like that for some of these other plants to get some good growth in before we really got to deal with some of these big heat waves that we know are coming. We know they're coming. It can get as hot as Texas, I say, around here in Southern Oregon. Hot as Arizona. Feels like it anyways. lots of 110s, 115s a couple of times over the last couple summers. Crazy. Bow tie light helps me a lot with the inner peace as well. Yeah, decompresses the pressure of the day for me. Yeah, gardening is just amazing. What it does for us is just absolutely awesome. Grumpy Bulldog, right on. Great to see you here. Great to come have you hanging out with us here today. Thanks for jumping into the conversation, saying hello. It's great to have you here with us. Right home. Rebecca's going to say, yes, gardening has helped me keep my inner peace. It also teaching me patience because I want all the stuff and I want it all to grow big, but I got to go with what I can afford and have to remind myself. Yes. Yeah, I'm right there with you too. Exactly. Is that I'd love to grow all sorts of stuff, more than I actually can and I'm able to, and all of that. That's that. And again, I remember again being those first few seasons, even as I was going through a lot of this stuff, it was because of some of that too, I think, was why I was really pushing to do more and more and more. We can do this, I can do that, I can grow this, I can grow that, and just more than I can really accomplish. But at the same time, I still give it my best effort. Right on. Yeah, I like that. Thank you, Nancy. Show some love. Hit that like button. I like that. Thank you for reminding us all that. Do some of that fun, cool, free, supportive stuff that we can do here on the show. Hitting the like button, dropping into the chat. Again, I don't know how long we're really going to be keeping this up, but if you do and are hanging out for a replay here, definitely drop into the chat. Say something, even if it's just hello and I'm from here and this is what I'm growing. I'd love to hear from you too, because again, those sort of things really help out the show, especially as we get our regular shows going and all that sort of stuff. If you missed the first part of the show, come back and you're rewatching the replays, leave those comments, do that sort of thing. And because just a moment of your time, it's free way to just really be supportive of the show and help us, YouTube likes to see that interaction, and then it helps show us to more people and helps us get more people to come join us for our audience and hang out with us here. As this bow tie light says, today's episode, emotional support for recovering gardeners. I think this is a necessary type of show. It helps me keep things in perspective when life gets heavy. Yeah. Sometimes, again, too, like I said, I didn't really feel like it. I was like, I'm not going to be able to put on a happy, fun, let's get together and talk gardening per se type of show. But I still wanted to get together with everybody, hang out and all that sort of stuff, and just figure out, get on and talk about it, talk about some of the stuff, talk about it with everybody, because we all go through things, and I know you all do too. So what it's like, that's what makes community great, is that, hopefully, we can just come on here, myself, I can come on here and just hang out with y'all and have a day or so like this on the show and just, see how everything's going after getting a chance to hang out with everybody live and talk outs and stuff, right? Yeah. Anna Jones as well. Always great to see you in the conversation, Anna. Thank you so much for being here. Thanks for dropping in and saying hello. And it's always great to see you in the conversation. Like I said, we got habitual hobbies here. My fur baby of 7 years passed away a few days ago. Oh my. See, again, you want to talk about that? I've got a couple of videos of those too as well. When I lost Bug, you want to see me some of my like worst and awful, just bawling my eyes out and that sort of thing, go check out that video. That's crazy. When I lost Bug, it was so hard. She, again, too, another thing too, is having having that cat show up at the time she did when I was going through all of that was another thing, as well as the gardening and everything. I don't know if I've told the story about Bug before, but it was during that time, like I was saying, 2013 or so, and just again, I was gardening and drinking and boohooing and just having an awful time and everything. And one night was just having the hardest time ever. And this cat was meowing at my back door. And I was just like, and I was trying to ignore it. I was just like, felt so awful. It was just in my own misery, right? But this cat just kept meowing and meowing, and I'm like, what in the world is going on? This cat, I live on an alleyway, so right, it's to be expected. And I go and open this door open, and this cat's there meowing, and basically it's just like, basically saying that if you don't do anything and help me out right now, I'm just gonna die right here on your porch. She was just completely bones, just awful, looked really, really awful, needed so much help and just everything. And I just, at that moment, went to rescue mode and just again, just that cat helped me out. And I say my cat and that garden, but both of them together, because she was my garden cat for a few years. And I can't imagine. It's just the most awful thing to lose. And I mean, it's so amazing how attached we can get, right? And again, you think like that's a cat, not a human. But you know what? I cried for my cat more than I did for a few humans I've had in my life. That's for sure. I took the day off of work and just did a lot of garden puttering, trying not to be sad. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's again, when Bug passed and all that sort of stuff, and other things happened again. I had another cat that passed as well too after that. And another video I did, Carl. Oh, Carl. But but yeah, it's just, without that garden, without that space for me to turn to and go to during those times to work through those difficult places, I think of like, God, how dark things could get for me, especially during those times. I didn't have tools that I've learned since 2020 to deal with some of this stuff a lot differently than I would have at that time, or did even too at that time. There was a lot of mix of, drinking and things like that as well too back then. But it was all that sort of stuff that really, really helped me not go to some really, really awful places. So in the long run, I really say more so than gardening helped me get through some difficult times, I think gardening really saved my life. I don't know where my life would be, what could have happened to me, in those times. Botox says, I used to listen to all those AM call-in radio shows. He says, you're such a nerd. Well, you truly are one of us. That's right. That's right. Oh, man, I'm telling you, I love I'd call in, too, every now and then. We used to call in, too, back in high school, and do all the romance lines and stuff with our girlfriends. So I had some call-in radio experiences with some things back in the day, back in high school and stuff. It's like, gosh, I can imagine digging something up like that. But I just used to love the radio. I was just such a radio nerd growing up. Radio and newspapers, just those things that are just kind of, I don't know. Radio's still around more so than newspapers, but it's kind of a dwindling kind of thing. Let's see here. Working through the chat here. Val hanging out with us here too. Wanted to pop in for a bit and say hi. So glad you popped in. So glad to see your name again. I like seeing names. I see, regularly, and seeing your names pop back up again and again in the chat just makes me feel really good. That folks, like our show, like coming and checking in on this space during this time to be here to see what we got growing on, see what's happening around here, Let's see here. Well, if it came down to taking time to do for yourself or being here, we'd understand you needing time away. Mental health is of utmost importance. Yeah, exactly. Well, again, that was a part of the debate though too, because getting to hang out with you guys and to be in this space and to have these talks and have these discussions and uh, you know mainly our regular ones we do the show discussions, learning about other folks in their garden spaces and doing all that sort of stuff, getting to do community shows with you guys to learn about what you've got growing on and to connect with all of you and all that sort of stuff. That is uh good for my mental health. That is like therapeutic for me in a way too, right? So that's kind of the juggle, right? It's like, well, taking some time to do this is good as well for this certain aspect of things, but it's also good for me just to get on and to be here and to hang out and to do all this sort of uh, um, discussions and chats and conversations with all of you, because that's it's good for me too. It's got me through some, as I've mentioned too, some days where I wasn't really feeling that up to it, you know, but still came here anyways. Those are the days, like I said, Jay could tell you plenty about, she getting on before the show, and I'm like, hey, I don't know really how it's going to go today, we'll see, and then we finish up the show and chat after the show's over. It's like, wow, can you believe how awesome that went? Wow, that went way better than I was even thinking or expecting or whatever. I didn't know, blah, blah, blah. It's just because it can be that way. It can be really, really, take things in a totally better direction for me, and so I've got to give it that chance as well too, right? And I even feel it a little bit right now, right? It was nice to be able to talk about some of this stuff. It was nice to kind of open up and share just a little bit more than what I usually do, but also to kind of help give you guys an understanding of kind of where my headspace is and where I'm at and why we don't have things running the way we normally would expect it to be. And expecting it's not a bad thing either, right? I said, Nancy, together we are a therapy group. We help each other. That's right. Gardening is a therapy group in a way, right? If you think about it, we can create, it's a good way. It's a good way to create an incognito therapy group, right? You just go around to your neighbors, you go around to your friends and your family members, and you go, hey, let's start a little gardening club, a little gardening group. And in the long run, it's really a therapy group in disguise, right? That's how you do it. Because I'm telling you, it doesn't matter. You just start growing, you start gardening. It just comes with it. It just comes with it. Rebecca's Gardening says this show today has made me feel so incorporate because we all go through these things that makes it real. Yes. We do. And we all go through it. That's why I was also feeling like, well, it's okay to share some of this stuff from time to time, right? Because we do all go through it. I know you all have gone through difficult things that are as, if not more, for however, and we, to each our own when it comes to our experiences and things like that. We all go through hard times that are difficult for each of us, no matter what the level is, right? And it's good to have each other. It's good to have a people. It's good to have a community. And what better community than gardening too? Because you get a whole, like I said, you get so much other things from it. Being human, your real self was good to help us all process negative experiences for information without emotional. There's AI, right? Yeah, if you want it without the emotion, there's AI. That's what this is all about, and that's kind of what the discussion we were having with Gardner Scott last, right? When we are kind of about talking about AI and gardening, and a few other garden creators have been touching on this subject and talking about it as well. It comes down to why I really am passionate about YouTube and YouTube communities and things like that as well, is that this is a place where real people can gather. This is where real people can gather. I mean, there should be no space for AI really at all. I wish they would take away some of the needs within the algorithm for us to be utilizing it for thumbnails or blah blah blah. But there's this game of many people wanting to get seen and all that sort of stuff. So I understand it from that level too as well, you know. But just having total fake AI personalities and videos that are not real people and real information, that should be forbidden in these spaces. This is for real people and real, you know. Rob Zach says, we men pretend we are big and tough, but deep down we are all soft. That's right. That's right. It's true. I mean, it's true. I mean, we are, I like to think that in some ways as a man, I had to deal with this in my early adulthood, as a lot of men do in developing our personalities and who we are, and that sort of thing is, having to understand a little bit about who we are as our inner person versus this outer person we want to present to the world, that sort of thing. And I like to think that I've tried to, keep myself humble enough to understand that my more inner side outwardly, right? And not try to pretend to be too much of what I'm not in a way, even, some of the shows I've had where it's like I was talking about, where maybe it wasn't going to start off, I wasn't necessarily going to try to pretend, that sort of thing. I don't come on here to pretend that I'm in a good mood or happy or anything like that. What I like to see happen is that I come here and it brings a smile on my face because I am here, you know what I mean? And that sort of thing and stuff too, that sort of thing. So, I don't want to pretend to be anything really, when it comes down to it, but yeah, sometimes, it is kind of an inclination of us men to do that though. And at times I've been guilty of it and, try to put on a different thing and pretend to do this and that, and I like to think I call myself out on it sometimes, And Sean the Gardener joining us from Cornwall, England. Great to have you here with us, Sean. Thanks for jumping in on the conversation. Thanks for onion sets, dahlias, carrots, ranunculus. Yeah, that's right on. Great stuff. Thanks for dropping in. Thanks for sharing with us here too. Yeah. I like it. Here, Rob's at it. He's back in 5 minutes. Need more beer. I'm sure this was a while ago, but yeah, that's great. Not me anymore. I'm glad I don't need anymore. That wasn't a good side. And I've told I shared with this a bit, when I kind of shared a video about my experience with this, the one I talked about a little bit earlier in 2020 was, going through and defeating my alcoholism and going through a recovery program and doing what I needed to not drink anymore. I mean, I got to the point where I was spending, for several years, I was basically drinking against my own will. I couldn't stop and that sort of thing. I was finally able to face it through some things and deal with that sort of stuff. And luckily, again, the garden was there for me. Luckily, the gardening community was there for me and all that sort of stuff. But I also mentioned too, is that, through this first several years of doing this channel, I did drink and there was a lot of, drinking and editing and doing all sorts of stuff. I tried not to drink and get in front of the camera too much, except for when it came to doing live streaming. I used to do these live shows. There's hundreds of hours of them, of live streams that I used to do. A live stream show we used to call Wednesdays Live that I did. We'd do a Wednesday evening, 5 p.m. Pacific, Wednesday evening live stream where it was just me doing this. I'd get up here, get in front of the camera and hang out with whoever would show up and hang out. And, we get a handful of people or so. We just chit chat about it, whatever, I'd work through the conversation like this here and we chat about whatever. And over here, I I got a cup. Today it's just water. Usually, a lot of times it's coffee. I like, I like to have a nice cup of coffee by the on the table here as we're hanging out. But I would have a cup where and you couldn't tell, but inside that cup would be beer, and I'd have I'd have plenty where you couldn't see off camera, and I'd just sit there and have my first few beers of the evening and start getting in my cups and everything, hanging out with everybody. And there were sometimes I'd have a good couple hour live stream or something and had drank a few and started getting to the point where I'd get a pretty good buzz going on, and I'm sure it and I know it for sure. You could tell on the live stream, you could see that here's this guy, he's and so you can't find those live streams anymore. I took them all down. Because it's not something I'm that proud of, in a sense, in my own personal life, in a sense that was a thing, but it was fun to get to hang out and to do all those live streams and all that sort of stuff as well too. But yeah, you all have fun, and there's nothing wrong with having a beer. I'm not saying that at all. I wouldn't. You have as many of them, and I hope you enjoy them, and everybody else as well too. There's nothing wrong with it whatsoever. Just as there was for me, and I'm glad that I was able to have the garden help me work through all of that sort of stuff and be where I am today with all that sort of stuff too, to where I can really work through this stuff. Whereas, like I said, man, if I'd gone through this and didn't have the garden and was dealing with certain things back in those times, even in 2020, I don't even think I would have been able to address and think about it. I'd probably still be drinking today, if or even, again, like I said, I think the gardening saved my life. Who knows where I'd be because of all of that sort of stuff. It's just amazing. Yeah, I love this too. Here, I'm not seeing it. Jay's popping up some of this stuff here too. I'm loving seeing what I'm seeing here. 25 years, Rick. That's amazing. Due to health concerns, blood better without alcohol, so gave it up. Exactly. So sometimes we have health concerns, right? That we got to make that decision for it as well too. Um, and but it was just. Oh, Look to Nature says put alcohol aside, autumn of 2020. I'd love to hear it. That's great. Mine was January of 2020, which happened to be, and I talked about this in the video I did when I talked about this year or two ago, a couple of years ago, which was really, this is the craziest, strangest thing ever. But you go back on YouTube to look at when I started the Urban Gardener channel. It was January 10th, I think of 2017 is when we started the channel up, the Urban Gardener channel. January 10th, 2017. And I didn't know about it. I didn't think about it. Never really looked back on that date whatsoever until a couple of years after I had quit drinking, and I was celebrating, the couple of year anniversary of not drinking. That I looked back on. I was doing some things with the YouTube and noticed it said January 10th, 2017, which was really crazy because it was January 10th in 2020 that I quit drinking, which was really weird. And it was just by coincidence. It was the same exact date. Both the channel and the date I quit drinking was the same day. It's amazing how some things work out like that, crazy. Like we talk about the cucumber plant and what it leads to, and how one thing leads to another. There's a lot of that when it comes to my own recovery and quitting drinking and everything too, where there's these certain things that came together at a certain right time that allowed for all of this certain new path for me to take. Really crazy. Let's see here. I'll try to get down through here and catch up with where we're at. I don't know, where are we at here? Frank here with us as well. Awesome to have you here. Eggs, edible landscapes. Gotta get back to plant work. Positive plant energy. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for sharing that. Thanks for being here. Thanks for hanging out with us today on the show for sure. Right on. Ricky's Gardening says, I've been going through a lot of changes recently, and just being here listening to all of you chatting with you has helped me so much to know I'm not alone. Again, it's why community is great, you know, because that's the biggest thing that can happen to us. I talk about, isolating in the garden during that time period, but I also knew and was well aware enough that I shouldn't isolate too much, and that's why I went to the community garden, the next season, and that sort of thing as well too. Is that community is really, really important, but our garden can, kind of give us that opportunity to kind of get away though as well, right? We just want to make sure we're still, we find our people, What it says here, go to life for you from ever removing the support group session from history. Right. Oh yeah, right. I don't know. I'll think about it. It's just, I go into it going, you know what, we'll just talk about whatever. I'm not going to, keep expectations on leaving it up, for the history books or all that sort of stuff. But you never know. We'll see. Maybe there'll just be a bunch of comments that'll pop up during the replay time or something like that, or enough of you people saying everything else as well too, and I'll just keep it anyways, or who knows? We'll see. Yeah, Adam says the only AI we need is the JBot. I love it. That's right. Closest thing to AI we really need. That's right. All right. Rick's like, I'm off to a buffet breakfast. 6:30 a.m. It's on your head. Boy, oh boy. It's almost 6:30 a.m. Nice and early there. Go get some breakfast, Rick. Come join with us tomorrow. We'll be back again tomorrow. Let everybody know. We'll be back here tomorrow. I already put up a show link for everybody and everything too. So we'll be back again tomorrow. We might even have the JBot joining with us a little bit. We'll see what we'll do. We'll see some conversation. Be a lot different. We'll keep it more gardening oriented and all of that as well too. This is just kind of a little bit of a little diversion, a little turn off the road for us for what we normally do here today. Ricky's Garden says, my husband has addiction issues and mental health and has said how much the garden has helped him. Yeah, exactly. I think it's something I've talked about with folks around here too, that we've kind of, maybe something will be put into the works a little bit down the road or something where we create a larger public recovery garden that'll be, open and available to folks who are in local Rogue Valley recovery programs and things like that. There are, of course, folks are welcome at certain community gardens and things as well. But I think it would be just great to have a good space for folks and people. And so we've been talking with some folks within the community, in that community here locally. It says everybody within that community here locally also knows me and knows, what I do, and I'm the garden guy, right? So again, these are projects and these are big things, and it's like, what kind of time and dedication and space do I have for lots of certain stuff? And I want to do everything, all of these amazing, cool things I could do, and goals and stuff I have for myself and things, it's just, it's where we wish there would just be more time. Yeah, everybody's saying, the amazing local recovery garden is a great idea. It really is a great idea. I talked about with like there was a space next to kind of a local recovery clubhouse that we have, and there was this whole other lot space, and it was kind of open. And I was like, man, wouldn't it be cool if there was some way that this organization could purchase that lot and we could just use it for a big recovery garden. That's kind of, I think, where the idea kind of got started, or the seed is really kind of planted with a few other people within that organization. So it's been on their mind. They brought it back up to me a couple of times. So we'll see maybe down the road how we might be able to make that happen. I think Jason's live streams are like wrestling a wild animal. That's a good one. Oh, I wonder what this. I was sitting there looking at this for a minute. What? I'm sorry here. I was looking at this before I say this bow tie life. He said, "Sorry, I had to do this Enneagram at the Urban Garden. Welcome back, Wednesday live on TUG." Oh yeah, that was the big like we took a little break or whatever, and I did a. So I think that's I totally forgot that little video clip thing was still in the archives. That's great. That's great. So, yeah, there it is. It's a fun little promo. I remember that was probably one of my first like content flags that I had gotten for using copyrighted content, because I think in that clip, I think I was using the intro to the old show, "Welcome Back, Kotter." Welcome back. Welcome back. And then yeah, Bowtie Life, and the next one is saying showing my very this is the very first, yeah, this is the very first episode 1. I did a live stream last year talking about this. I think we took a look at and watched this together or something. We watched the first episode that I ever did. Yeah, first episode. The what is the Urban Gardener? Am I really doing this? The very first. That was great. And then here we are today, all these years later. Next season, 2027, will be our 10th anniversary season this next year. The 10th Urban Gardener anniversary season. Crazy to think that all this time has passed. All the things that we've gotten to do and all of that. Pretty darn amazing. Let's see here. You are very listenable, if that's a word. Listenable. I think it is a word for sure. Yeah, that's great. People have told me that about my voice. I was told I should be doing. I think maybe radio. I don't know if I think I liked radio much before people were telling me I should be doing radio. And there was a time back in the day where I thought, it'd be great. I should go in and see if I can't talk them into letting me get a radio show of my own. Okay. Oh, wow. What? Now, here is a name I have not seen in quite a while. A good old original friend of the channel for sure. Patrice from Patrice's Projects. Hi, Patrice. It's amazing to see you. Thank you so much. Patrice, I've did one of my first times getting to get out and do videos in those first years of going and visiting people in their gardens and doing that sort of stuff. Patrice and Patrice's Projects, I got to meet online through YouTube, through a couple of other gardening channels and groups and things like that. And I went to go meet Patrice at Patrice's Projects. There's an old video, I'm sure that can be found if someone wanted to go find that video, and put a link to it in the chat for everybody to take a look if they wanted to, where I went and visited Patrice at Patrice's Projects. And we've also got to meet a couple of times at the National Heirloom Exposition in Northern California a couple of times. And yeah, Really awesome to see you. Thank you so much for jumping into the conversation today and checking out the show. It's been a little while. But it's normally this isn't the show though. This is this is kind of like back old school when I was just doing live streams, talking with everybody. I was kind of chatting with everybody about that. I don't know if you got to hear that in the conversation, but this is a little old school conversating right now, like we would do. Um, she says, "Great to see me back active." Yeah, well, I've been around. I've been around. We've been doing this show now for, I think this is really our fourth season of the show, third, fourth season of. I'm keeping up with these types of numbers. We've been doing a few years now. Oh, there we are. Yeah, Jay found it. 7 years ago, Urban Gardener, TUG visits YouTube gardener Patrice's projects. Yep. Marcus Garden says, I have almost 10 years. I got my math wrong earlier. I have 9 years, 10 in February of recovery. That's just amazing. Absolutely wonderful. Thanks for sharing that with me too. I love hearing that. I should share more about some of that. It's just, I'm working on all of the being a little more open about certain things like that as I'm, again, reworking and thinking about what I'm going to be doing as far as video content and stuff like that. That's been on my mind a lot lately. Believe me, not doing video content is weighing heavy on me. A lot more so than some of the stuff going on with the live streams and stuff. But again, just a lot of certain things that are getting worked out. Hopefully, again, we'll get things hopefully really set up and really geared up and ready for what should be our 10th anniversary this next year, and just have some really great content for everybody. I used to be told by quite a few people in my customer service jobs I had a radio voice. You very much so have one. Thank you. I have been told that a lot. And again, customer service has been a lot of what I've done too throughout a lot of years of working to myself. And I get that comment, and used to get that comment a lot from people, especially like, again, as my voice was developing, my late teenage years, late high school, the theater folks were like, oh, we need you in the theater doing this and that. And I was still a bit shy for doing some of that sort of stuff. Later on, I did take some public speaking classes and things like that in college, and got a lot more comfortable and with that sort of thing. But by that time, I was on to other stuff besides trying to do theater and things. I wish I would have, but yeah. Jay's partner said that I have an excellent voice for radio. Right on. I love hearing it. Let's see here. Patrice's project says, I may just post a short update on my garden. I haven't done a video here in a while. Yeah. You need to get back into it. Relaunch Patrice's projects. Get out there and have some fun and make some videos again. I say that as I haven't been making videos, right? But no, I'm gonna get back into it. I'm working on a game plan. Like I said, I really want to plan it. Like the first time I just launched all of this sort of stuff, I followed the advice of like, just do it. Just start doing it, just get in there and do all that sort of stuff. And since kind of like thinking about, what I should do next and some of that sort of stuff, I'm thinking, well, you know what, I'm really going to plan out and think out some stuff. So I've got a good game plan this time. Kind of comes back to some of the things I was talking about though, too, because I want to work into some of the game plan as I work into some of this next phase of my garden content creation and what we're doing here on the Urban Garden channel and stuff, and looking forward to our 10th anniversary and all these sort of things is, how can I really start to monetize this for myself? How can I make this start paying me some money? This is, what I mean? To really make some of the efforts in some sense, a little more, worth it on that level too. So that, again, it can help me in other areas of things, hopefully too. So that, I'm not so stressed about some of those aspects of things when certain things happen in my life, like this last year, and then things just feel like they're like, you know, uh, it was a rough winter. Let's just say that, and I've just been kind of in recovery mode from all of that sort of stuff, and trying to do and put things together, and all of that. It's been just a little bit more challenging, but I'm always up for a challenge. It's just this time, what I want to do is really focus in on the challenge and what I can do to make it better, what I can do to make it more worthwhile for me, and that sort of thing as well too, and work on some monetization strategies that I just have never really done. I mean, think about it. We're going on 10th anniversary of the show, and I've really never really done any sort of monetization strategies with our channel. I've thought about all sorts of stuff, from like creating some merch, so people could buy some t-shirts or something, to, the memberships that YouTube started up, all sorts of different things throughout. We did start a Patreon. We've done certain little things here and there, but I want to create a really good strategy and go after it coming up here real soon too. So a lot of things are on my mind when it comes to doing this stuff. But the one thing that isn't on my mind when it comes to doing all this sort of stuff is quitting. You know what I mean? That's not on my mind. 10 years in, and we haven't even hit 20,000 subscribers yet. I mean, I was hoping that would have happened a while back ago, to be honest with you. There's those sort of expectations when you build a channel, or you have it for this long, and you've been doing all this work and doing all this work and doing all this work to build it up and build it up. In the long run, I enjoy it. I enjoy the space, and that's why I keep coming back to it, as I've explained and talked about throughout this show today, is that it's the community that brings me back here. It's the community that keeps me going. The creativity and all that other stuff are a part of that, that helps me keep moving. The gardens, for sure, are huge motivation, and something I rely on, and all of that sort of stuff as well too. And through all of that, there's so much that is just really beneficial to me personally on all of those other levels, that I don't think of quitting whatsoever. May not have met expectations. I had hoped that, going 3 to 4 years in on doing the show and having the quality of guests and all that sort of stuff, that we would have far more larger audience, expectations, right? Those sort of things. I would think that we would have, been able to, with what we've done and being able to do together and all that sort of stuff, that there would be, but even if that isn't the case, and I've said this before, I get enough out of all of this, that even if it is just this little quiet little corner of the gardening community, then you know what, I'm perfectly happy with that. I'll keep doing this for years, as long as people will keep showing up and hanging out, even in whatever numbers we get, because there's just so much I do get from it, and all of this and everything too. So there ain't no, I like what it says, quitting. What is quitting? I do not know this word exactly. I've had frustrations. I've had really, some stressing over whether or not things are working out the way I want it to, or things aren't coming together this way, or again, trying to balance a schedule, a calendar of all the different guests and the different shows and segments and things like that. That can be a challenge, and at times, and things like that and everything. But man, I'm telling you, the looking back at our catalog of shows and things we've been able to do and all that sort of stuff, to me, it's all worth it. It's just so worth it to have that kind of, this, I don't know if it's the right word, but legacy, right? I was kind of sharing this with my daughter a while back ago, not too long ago, but with the idea that, I do this YouTube channel, and I've been sharing all these videos for all these years and stuff, is that, like, again, I've shared with you that we lost her mother, but I was like, you'll at least, I've got all this YouTube stuff that you could always look back on, and you can always kind of visit me, right here on YouTube. you know, all these years and hours, hundreds and hundreds of hours of me on camera doing things and all that sort of stuff as well too, you know. So it's in a way, you know, I look back on all of that going, yeah, that's a kind of a really cool legacy in a way, you know, if left for my family to kind of remember me by or something, if that's what it is, right? Then to me, it's all worth it to kind of build that up and have that there left, right? So there's all these different, really kind of interesting perspectives we can take on all of this sort of stuff, right? Hmm. Here, I like this too. People never give up, never surrender. Go out on your shield, I say. There you go. Exactly. Oh, yeah. This here's another thing too that was a kind of a really uh, for a while as I was thinking about getting started doing my channel was the idea, you know, it was like I mean, I'd look at myself in the mirror and I go, "Oh man, are people gonna want to look at you on the camera? People gonna want to hear you? People gonna do all that sort of stuff, you know?" And again, you know, all from the idea that, you know, people are gonna show up and say things, you know, they're gonna talk about your looks, they're gonna talk about, and it's happened. It's happened. Believe me, I've had people talk about all sorts of aspects of me. I've had some awful, awful comments pop up on my videos and people saying things and doing things and stuff. But when it comes down to it, I had really early on to tell myself, don't allow that to influence any sort of thing that I put out there. Right. Even to the point of looking back at that very first episode, and I'm telling you, we watched that together last time. It was so like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Look how like how unconnected to the camera I was, and just how you know, I was trying to kind of like, you know, and again, you know, really kind of script my way in a way. No, it was unscripted, but scripted in a way. You know what I mean? It was just, I was trying to follow and do certain, you could tell. And it was just like, oh, I look back at it and go, oh, but it, man, I, I just, I also love that it's there though, too. And I can look back on all of that and see those experiences and see how it went from that to where we are today. And I'm a lot more comfortable in front of the camera. I'm a lot more, you know, better at editing and doing things like that when it comes to the video making and stuff. Or even if you look back at early live streams, as I've talked about with the early live streaming and how those have changed to where we are today with, you know, what I would hope is, you know, a semi-professional live show. I hope it comes off as a semi-professional live show, and in some ways that you wouldn't necessarily think that there's just one guy really behind the scenes putting it all together, right? Along with, again, too, I'm not discounting our contributors who are helping out and doing an amazing job, putting content and all that sort of stuff together. But this is a really, you know, produced by just a few of us, really, you know, and just myself doing the bulk of all of this stuff. I just hope that it comes out as something that is bigger than that, you know. And it looks like there's more people doing more things. Like there's a professional booker booking guests, and there's people doing this and that or whatever. You know, that's how, you know, that's the type of show I want to be putting out. You know, that's the type of, you know, thing that I have a lot of pride in when I get, you know, when I get finished with a show and go, wow, that was actually really amazing. That conversation with so and so really just went so much better than I thought it was going to, you know, that all that sort of stuff. Is in the distant past, I turned down a fascinating career opportunity due to the viciousness in that community. Yeah, yeah. Some communities can be. I've been a part of some other communities that are pretty much, and that's just not something that, you know, we experience too much here in the gardening community. Ultimately, it's just that you know, I do get some comments like that I've mentioned, you know, that are kind of like, oh gosh, wow, who would have thought of saying that to someone? You know what I mean? But you know, people do, and they're everywhere, even in the gardening community. They can pop in and, you know, troll around a little bit, if you will, and say things to people that they probably just shouldn't be saying. You know, and it happens. I just try not to let it get to me at all because I just know that there are just 100 times, 1,000 times, just so many times more amazing people than there are of those people within this gardening community. So Sean the Gardener says, this is a special live stream channel. Thank you so much. Appreciate that compliment. Yep. Look to Nature says, I had to battle a little bit with my social anxiety to get on camera, but I'm trying to show my boys to never give up. I've been trying to teach my boys to persevere through struggles. And it's great. And these are great lessons. And the best way we can show, like show my daughter how I got through that sort of stuff, and my granddaughter now, and those sort of things are through our experiences, and to be able to share with them how we are able to deal with certain stuff. But perseverance is a big thing. I've really, kind of had that in my nature almost, since, from from ever since I was young, it's kind of like not give in, not give up type of thing, even though I did on several things I really wish I didn't. But for the most part, just pushing through and pushing through on a lot of stuff is kind of how I've gotten through a lot of stuff in my life, for sure. And had a fair little bit, like I mentioned a little bit earlier, coming out of high school, wasn't very comfortable public speaking, had a little bit of social anxiety, but I worked on that. It was something I really, really, really wanted to get done in some kind of leadership roles I was trying to take on coming out of high school, going into college, and some of the things I was doing. There was a few years in between there and stuff that I was doing some couple of other things and stuff that I really kind of helped me work through some of that stuff and helped me get through and get better to where I was able to use that years later when I first started getting on camera. Wasn't the best at it. It took me a while still to learn and figure it all out and get comfortable. But at least I had taken some efforts to kind of work through that, because and it can take some effort, but it's really nice when you can start getting comfortable, just kind of being around and talking with I guess we just get perfect strangers, just whoever's in front of you, someone takes some interest in a garden and just get in a nice conversation with them. I like to take that same type of perspective, a friend, a person who's there with me, as on camera as well too, doing that in both realms and being comfortable with talking and discussing with just anybody about certain things is just, I think it's a good skill to have. Oh, let's see here. I trained my mind a little and tell myself I was doing this for the journey to see how I'm growing and learning as a gardener, and to help people learn about the benefits of gardening. Exactly. I love that. Mhm. Bow Ties says, my best live show ever was what we did here on Sunday, May 3rd, here on TUG for Baker Creek. What a great day that was. Your segment was my favorite moment. That was just, it was really great. And it was so great to see you be able to pull that off and to do that, to make that trip, to go out there and do that sort of thing. It was really glad to see you be able to do that, for sure. Yeah. Holy smokes. What? Is it time already? I'm just going on chat. Here we are now. I didn't, again, lost track of time. Yeah, here we go. Jay's in the background warning me too, as well too. It's your warning. You're just talking away here, dude. That's right. It is about time for us to start thinking about shutting this all down. Let's see, Wickershire project. Here's the good news. We are harvesting out of the garden, almost fully planted in, tons of space, but nothing to repair soil to set more into. Always expansion next year. Exactly. Expand it out, grow it. Keep on growing, keep it growing. It's good to see that you're getting stuff out. Hope all of your gardens out there are doing really, really great. Let's see here. Patrice's project says, I hope to see more on the recovery garden. Really caught the end of that conversation, but it sounds rewarding. my major in college was psychology, and I have some experience with addiction. And she says, nice seeing you. It was nice seeing you too, Patrice. Thank you so much for dropping in. Really, just really great. Again, too, I love Nancy dropped in a couple of weeks ago. I saw her dropping in and saying hi as well, too. I know you and Nancy still keep in touch and everything as well. You know, you guys are just some of my original viewers of the channel when we first got started so many years ago. It's always great to see your name pop up. Please keep coming back around, keep coming and checking out some of our conversations. If you haven't had a chance, check out our live page too, and check out what we've been up to the last couple of years with this show. I mean, you won't believe it. If you haven't had a chance to check in at all and see what we're doing, you won't believe what we've been up to. I mean, we've been doing some really great live streaming, really great shows here on the Let's Get Growing show, and doing all sorts of just really cool stuff. So again, really great to have you here. Let's see here. Becky's Guardian. This has been a wonderful, wonderful live show. Well, I'm glad you think so, because again, starting this all out, not knowing what to think of all of it, not being really, again, too, I'm just kind of working through some things, thinking about a lot of really difficult stuff and all of that. And it's just one of those days where I just didn't know what was going to happen when we got here on live with all of you. But again, I'm glad I did. It was what I was telling myself beforehand. No, go ahead, get on there. Just work it as a little therapy session with all of your good friends in the gardening community, and come and just go hang out, talk about whatever's going on. And come back with us tomorrow, though. We'll be back at it again, same time again tomorrow, Sunday show. I was chatting a little bit with Jay before we got started today, so maybe we'll get Jay on tomorrow a little bit for a chit chat about some things that she's got going on. She's got some incredible frustrations happening over there in her little space and everything too. So maybe we'll get on and chat with her a little bit tomorrow. We'll keep things a little more garden centered for the show, for the Sunday edition of the show tomorrow, and talk about some garden things and whatever, and get into maybe some things that you've got growing on in your gardens and all of that. But let's see here. Rob Zadig says, I think this has been one of the best lives I've ever been. People have spoke openly about life. Well, you know what? I appreciate you saying that, because, you never know what to think when you're going to get in and open up about things that aren't gardening on a gardening show. I try to keep it pertaining to gardening because it really does. I mean, I use gardening to work through all of this stuff. This gardening community helps me get through all of this sort of stuff. All of that's, so really, really appreciate it. Let's see here. It says, fear isn't powerful. The ability to push past it in spite of that fear is powerful. It says he meant powerful, not powerfully. Yeah, I got you. We got you. But yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're right. Excellent. So, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. Again, come and join with us tomorrow. We'll get some things figured out in the next week or two, get this show rolling back like normal, and all of that. Hopefully, again, my goal really is by next weekend we have some semblance of normal shows and we're back on track with doing some sort of things. It really is my goal. I hate trying to say it out loud though too, because you never know when you say things out loud, but then again, it does kind of put my feet to the fire and help me get motivated to get some things done and everything too, because I can't wait to kind of get things back to the way they're supposed to as well too. So that's great. And yep, like Jay says, join us Saturday and Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Everybody hit that like button too before we finish up as well too. I really appreciate all of you being here. Appreciate all of those cool things you do, the comments, the thumbs up, all of that. Just really great. So let me find this here. Where is it at? I got everything all mixed up around here too, but okay, there it is. Right on, everybody. Yes, and like Jay says, we really, really appreciate you so much. Massive community hug from me to you, and I know from you to me too as well. Thank you so much for being here for me today. Help me talk through all of this sort of stuff today. It's been really awesome. We'll be back at it again tomorrow. We'll see all of you then.
is the ugliest plant in the world, but I love it.